you guys? Welcome back to a brand new episode. And today's episode, I have to say, is going to be a very important one because y'all know who's next to me here. YB Syed Saddiq.
Thank you very much, Maggie.
Thank you for coming. Can I just
pleasure.
say, I am very impressed at your tenacity because I know you did like 4 podcasts in a day the other day.
Yep.
How do you do that?
A lot of coffee.
Really?
And at the same time, having really great conversations.
Okay, that helps.
Yeah, definitely. Look, I don't see it as a job or as a chore.
Okay.
I actually enjoy having those conversations.
Really?
Yeah.
I mean, to be fair, you were in Parliament, you are in Parliament, so if you can do Parliament, you can do this, right?
Parliament starts at 10 o'clock, can finish at 1, 2 a.m. in the morning. If
But
we
you
can
don't
do
talk
that,
the whole time, do you?
that's true as well. But you don't talk, but at times you shout. I mean, not me, but others shout. So I mean, a podcast is a lot more relaxed.
Correct. We'll get to that in a bit. But before that, how can I address you?
And just call me Saddiq.
Saddiq
will do. Yeah.
Saddiq. What do people usually call you?
Saddiq.
Saddiq.
Yeah.
Saddiq. Okay,
Yeah.
Saddiq then. Okay. Now, before we start, this is something that a lot of people would like to know. I put up a question poll on my IG story the other day, and the amount, if I can show you, the amount of question about this particular issue is unreal. Okay, it's unreal. So on behalf of all curious Malaysians, are you single? Are you looking? And what's your type?
Ayo. Oh, what's my type? And am I single or not? Okay, my relationship status, I shall hide it behind the Official Secrets Act. It is a government secret. But what I can say, I'm not looking.
You're not, okay.
Yeah.
Then, you just broke many hearts, I'm just saying.
No, I mean, I'm here to serve.
What a man.
To make Malaysia a better place.
Okay.
In terms of my type, to be honest, there's no specific type. I know many people have said like this and that, but what's most important is someone who can understand me. Because that alone is very tough. Because of my job.
Because of your job.
The sacrifices which comes with it. So that's actually the toughest part. Someone who understands me.
If you don't mind me asking this lah, I know you don't want to reveal your relationship status. You don't have to, but a lot of my followers want to know if you would date a woman of a different race.
Oh, 110%.
Oh!
I mean, to me, that's a...
So it doesn't matter?
That's a non-starter, yeah. I mean, it's perfectly fine. If anything, we should encourage more interracial, not just dating, but interracial marriages. Because that's where you create permanent bonds of friendship, of family, which last from one generation to another.
I agree. And also you make beautiful babies. Just saying.
Yes, exactly. Oh, definitely. Yeah.
Right? All my interracial marriage friends, they have like the most beautiful babies. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Okay, I also want to...
A to interracial marriage.
Okay, guys, you heard it. I answered for you. So if you guys are still curious, you have to ask him yourself already. Yeah, I've done my part, okay? So don't bug me anymore because like they were basically 70% asking about your relationship status. I don't know why people are so curious. Do you know why people are so curious?
I'm not that sure. Maybe because I'm 30, I'm very private about my relationship status and my dating life. But at the same time, what worries me is that at times when I talk about policies, very serious issues, like once I had this really important interview, which was about Malaysia's very first Political Funding Act, a very important piece of legislation. But at the end of the interview, there was a question about when will I get married? And in the end, what was reported was like 95% about when will I get married instead of the whole piece about the Political Funding Act.
I don't know if this was the headline I saw because obviously I had to do research before I got you on. There was one article that says YB Syed Saddiq says that he will get married before PRU 16. Was that the one?
Yeah. And this really frustrates me, right? Because to be honest, I know when you are in public scrutiny, therefore your privacy belongs to the public to some extent.
I can relate, yes.
Yeah. But at that point, I was joking. I mean, a very senior MP was asking me when I'll get married. So I was just in a very jovial way, say, before next election. But then immediately I laugh, but I'm not mentioning which election. It can be 10 elections from now. And then that person actually posted it up as if like I'm seriously going to get married very soon. But what freaked me up even more is that when I was in Parliament, so I didn't get a chance to read the article.
Yeah.
So my mom suddenly called me. So when I was Parliament, I saw so many missed calls from my mom. So why is my mom calling me so many times? And then my mom's like, sampai hati, like, how could you not tell me? So I'm like, tell you about what?
Mama marah.
Yeah, and then I found out that everyone in my family thought it was real.
Yeah.
That I kept it hidden from my mom. And that a random person, not random lah, very nice senior MP found out about it first instead of my own family. I'm like, guys, calm down. This is not true. But yeah, I have to accept it lah.
That's your life now. Everything is public, whether you like it or not, right?
Yeah.
But do you actually, are you actually okay with it? Because everything you do is being scrutinized.
Yeah, I try my best to keep my private life private, because it's not just about me. It's also about my other half. It's also about my family.
Yeah.
And especially when the toxic level of politics is there, if they can't get to you, they'll go get your other half or your family members, which will be even tougher.
Definitely.
So I try my best to keep things close-knit, tight, secretive to some extent.
Yeah.
To ensure that I can focus on my job, they can focus on on their lives.
Yeah.
But more importantly, Malaysians can focus on policies which move our country forward.
Well, let's be honest, nobody can focus when you're leading life. Everybody wants a piece of you now, But you are technically one of the most eligible bachelor in Malaysia, safe to say. But okay, guys, I think I've done my part. Enough about his relationship status, okay? You've been on so many podcasts. You've been on Mama Sessions, The Boys with Ming Yu, Ming Han. And I feel like people already know what you do and what you stand for.
Yeah.
So I kind of want to do this the head over heels way.
Yeah.
Okay. And get to know you as a human being.
Yeah.
Okay. Without the YB, just Saddiq.
That's better. Yeah.
If we can kind of like go back in time, I asked this to most of my guests to come on the show. If I have this one-on-one time, which I feel is so precious, I really want to get to know the younger Saddiq.
Yeah.
Like, what was your childhood like?
Yeah. I grew up in Johor. Mom was a teacher until she recently retired. My father was a blue-collar worker who commutes every day from Johor to Singapore to earn a living for the family. But despite coming from a lower middle-income family, I still see myself to be very privileged because my parents, up until today, my best support system. When I go through moments of crisis, they will always be there for me. They will also be my moral check and balance to some extent. And I appreciate that a lot. Yeah. But childhood Syed Saddiq was very different. When I say very different, it's not in a good way.
Tell me more.
I had a very, closed view of the world. And I feel very ashamed to say of this, especially in front of you, Maggie.
It's okay.
On a show which empowers women. But I think it's very important for us to own up to our mistakes in order for us to move forward.
Yeah.
So when I was a kid, especially in high school, before I entered military college, I saw women as inferior. And I have to say this because I have to own up to my mistake. Then I remember my sister was pursuing her studies. I think she already completed a degree, about to take her master's. And I was like, why bother doing this? In the end, you'll just have to stay at home.
Be a housewife.
Right? Correct. Despite now, I think she's about to complete a PhD.
Wow.
But that was my viewpoint then. I was very lazy and spoiled. I don't know how my mom tolerated me, despite the fact that there's some rotans here and there. And even my view of race was very different.
Oh, right? How so?
I thought that I was racially superior because I come from the majority. Malaysia is built this way. So it was a very different viewpoint. However, what changed me again, and this is where I feel very privileged, well, my social circle. Then I started befriending people from different races and religions, and not just befriending in school, but you get out of school, you go to the playground together, you go walk for 40 minutes to the nearby cyber cafe and play from 10 p.m. until 8 a.m. in the morning. There's 10 ringgit, 10 hours discount. And then you start building a very strong bond. But what strengthened that bond even more was that when I got into the Royal Military College, which was the most diverse boarding school in Malaysia, with the military element behind it as well. When we got bullied, we cried together. When we shed tears of joy, we shed tears of joy together. And it was really a colorblind school in which we could build that familial bond regardless of race and religion. And that, to me, was an eye-opener. And despite it also being an all-boys school, I think also taught us chivalry and to some extent, I mean, it's a military school, right? They'll force it in you. So I think that also changed my perspective on gender, changed my perspective of race and religion. And that's why whenever someone asks me, like, what are the most impactful decisions you've made? I mean, number one is entering the Royal Military College. And secondly is to pursue my passion in debate and public speaking, because debating is all about critical thinking. You need to keep on asking questions. Do not just believe something because someone tells you. You must be very innovative. So as a consequence, all my past preconceptions, which may be wrong, when challenged and confronted under the microscope of data and facts, start to realize, hey, I was wrong. And my message is, it's perfectly fine to admit that you were wrong before. It's worse if you are arrogant enough to think that you are always right and everyone else is wrong.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. I love that. That change. It's such amazing growth considering what you stand for now.
Yeah.
But like, how did it make you feel when you realized you were wrong? Like that feeling, do you remember?
Of course, horrible.
Okay.
Horrible. I mean, especially to those who I may have offended before.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, I'll try to make amends. But as I said, I mean, I was delinquent. It wasn't just about that. I mean, let me show how much of a delinquent I was. Not only will I tell... So, I love then, you know, we didn't have laptops and computers. It was very expensive, so you had to go to cyber cafe.
Correct.
All right? But I cannot go to cyber cafe that easily because my mom is a teacher and a discipline teacher. Okay? So you'll get caught 110%. So I'm like, okay, how do I hack the system, right? So then I'll tell my parents that me and my brother will want to sleep at my neighbor's house. My neighbors will tell their parents that they want to sleep at my house. So then both of us will meet halfway. We'll walk for 40 minutes to the nearby cyber cafe. It's called Leslie Cyber Cafe. It's not even a proper cyber cafe. You know, it's a dodgy cyber cafe where in front you'll see selling SIM cards.
Yeah.
Secret door to the back, got 20 computers. So then it's like 10 hours, 10 ringgit. And then when we come back 8 o'clock in the morning and we get caught by our parents, say, no, we went to eat mama. So that's why. And we never got caught. That's how good we were.
So will your mom say something if she hears this?
I admitted, this is one of the mistakes. I admit to my mom much later and they were like, oh my God, that was you all the time. So I'm like, yeah. But when I did get caught, it's not then when we went at night, was the other way. And this is again to show how delinquent I was. If you're in Johor, I mean, you have your daily school in the morning. At 3:30 to 6:30, you have to go to religious classes or religious school.
Yes.
So the delinquent me, in order for me to escape religious school to go to cyber cafe, I'll tell my ustazah, no, ustazah, I'm representing my school in hockey, which I was, to be fair, but you don't train every day.
Yes.
So I have to go train hockey. And I said, yeah, sure. And then obviously I went to the cyber cafe. So then I got caught. Yeah, my ustazah told my mom. My mom came over, create this whole hoo-ha.
Is your mom a teacher in your school?
Yes. That makes it worse, right? So when I did get caught, my mom, being a well-known teacher in the area, went to every single cyber cafe, and plastered my face and my brother's face and threatened the cyber cafe owner, if you allow my children in, I will lodge a police report saying that you kidnapped my children.
Oh my God!
So from that time onward, I was like, everyone did not want to see me and my brother. However, again, we are innovators.
Yes, we are. You are, not me.
We found that secret cyber cafe, which is hidden behind. And obviously, my mom will not know because no one knows of that cyber cafe. So yeah,
because from the outside it looks like something
one thing
else.
which I know as a kid, I was street smart. I know how to circumvent.
Wow, I wouldn't... Actually, I wouldn't have known how to do that. Such a genius in
I would say genius, delinquents lah. One other very vivid memory.
Tell me more.
And I've already apologized to the owner of the mall, which is obviously a very prominent businessman. So when I was in the Royal Military College, you rarely get outings. I think maybe 2 months once.
It's kind of like asrama style, right? You stay there.
Yeah, you stay there, and it's also a military college above and beyond that. If you don't pass your fitness test, you cannot swim, you cannot leave the college. They'll actually just push you in the waters until you learn how to swim.
That's mad. Okay.
But I mean, again, it's the best decision of my life. But then when we were given outings, I mean, my house is all in Johor.
Yes.
And outings, you get 1 night, right?
Yeah.
Obviously, I can't get a hotel room or even spend on a hostel. So I was thinking, how do I maximize my time out? And obviously, you're young, you don't know what to do. You go to malls, but if you go to malls, you can't just window shop. Then there's obviously a cinema.
Yes.
But cinema, they're still quite expensive, especially on weekends. I
Yes.
think remember it's like 10 to 11 ringgit. Right? If it's on Wednesday, I remember 6 ringgit. Obviously, you cannot go Wednesday lah. It's not outing. So I did. I went to every single cinema, I think, in KL to find a hack in the system. Where can I hack it so that I can watch as many movies but pay for only one ticket? Then I found a loophole, which was at Berjaya Times Square. KLCC, all the other places, very tough.
Yes.
Berjaya Times Square, they have one mistake. Okay, firstly, they'll display all the shows early in the morning from like 9 a.m. until like 12, like midnight.
Yeah.
So I'll take out my phone, take a photo of all the shows, and then which cinema, like 6, 7, 8, where it will take place. Well, I'll do that. I'll buy one ticket. And once I buy one ticket, and it will be the first ticket like 9 a.m. or 10 a.m. in the morning, I'll go watch it. And then 15 minutes before the show ends, I'll act as if I'm going to the toilet. I'll wait in the toilet and I'll see my phone. Where's the second show next? And then go there. But I have to go, the tactic is to go 15 minutes after the show has started so that everyone has
Seated.
seated.
So you're not taking anyone's seat.
Correct. And even if I am to take anyone's seat, I'll be, oh, sorry, wrong seat. I'll go in front.
Oh my God.
And then 15 minutes before it ends, go out and continue that until midnight. So that's literally 10 ringgit to watch like 8 movies in one day. And then again, how do I resolve the issue of not having a place to sleep? So
Don't tell me you
again,
sleep in a cinema.
No, you cannot sleep in cinema. That one you get caught. But Berjaya has a McDonald's inside the mall, not outside, which opens 24 hours. So I will actually sleep at the McDonald's, right? And you'll see a bunch of military school kids, then potentially also partially in our military school uniform, sleeping there. And we slept just on the table, right? And then next day, we did our movie marathon again.
You guys are built different.
Yeah. And then, and we never got caught. Never got caught. Obviously.
Now that you make it public.
I already apologized. And I found out later they immediately like corrected their
system.
Because like other cinemas, like before like 10 minutes, 15 minutes before it ends, there'll be someone waiting at the door behind.
Yes.
And they'll get everyone to not escape, to leave from the front
Are you the
door.
reason why there's someone waiting by the cinema door now?
I don't know. But the way is, as I say, whenever there's a will, there is a way.
That is insane. In some ways, your movie marathon has prepped you for Parliamen.
That's true.
The many hours of listening and watching. But do you actually fall asleep in the cinema?
Then no.
It's quite comfortable to sleep
but
in there.
now I have this weird therapy. Whenever I get stressed out, I'll purchase a late night movie on my own, not with my other half or with a date. I'll go there and then I'll sleep. Not even to watch the movie.
What the hell?
I'll sleep. And by the end of the cinema, I leave, but I'll always wear my cap and my hoodie.
So nobody recognizes you.
So that no one recognizes, because and I won't pick like all the blockbusters. It's just a random
that
movie.
Nobody watches.
Yeah. And I'll sleep. That's therapeutic to some extent. I don't know why, but that's something which I picked up.
So if you guys see a man sleeping in a cinema for a midnight show, just walk past him. Let him sleep, okay?
Yep.
Oh my God, that was such a fun story. I wouldn't have known that side of you, really, because now you seem so quite serious and all that, you know. Oh my
gosh. It comes with the job, you have to be, but
you have to, but I mean, there's always
we all have our colourful history.
I'm sure. But like, what's your relationship with your mom like? Because like you say, you're such a naughty kid.
Yeah.
But then and now, what has changed and what is it like now?
I mean, now, then, before and after, I will always be close to my mom.
Yes.
And being the youngest in the family, intuitively you get even closer to your mom.
Yes.
You are like the so-called favorite child.
baby.
You know? Yeah, the baby, the favorite child. I always tell that to my siblings. I'm the favorite child, not you. And I know my mom acknowledges that. But that aside, I mean, my mom to me impacted my life the most. Especially when it comes to being in public service. Because my mom dedicated her life as a teacher. She could have become a military officer because my grandfather served the Navy. And at that point, she received the offer. But then my grandfather said no.
Okay.
And then she picked the path of education and she fell in love with it. And she just retired 2 years ago as a teacher. And even then, she does not want to stop teaching. She still wants to occasionally do tuition, to teach tuition, part-timing. The point is, teaching is in her blood. But one vivid memory which I'll never forget, which impacts my public service today and which inspires me until today, is that every time my mom takes me back from school and we're in the same school about to go back, my mom will stop by at a nearby Caltex. It's in between.
Yeah.
Then it's Caltex. I don't know whether there's still Caltex here today or not.
Petrol station.
Yeah. So the Caltex, but then there will be a bunch of kids who will be in front of Caltex who will often sell fruits, candy, illegally, but then we allow it. We allow it to happen. So my mom will go and meet them. And at times they'll be very afraid because my mom, again, is a discipline teacher and is well known. So they think that they are going to get into trouble. But my mom will ask, can you please put me in touch with your parents? And then my mom will call their parents and ask, do you want to send your children to my tuition class for free? Yeah. So, and I witnessed that it's not just my mom doing it for like 1 month. It's like for 1 year, some even 2 years for free.
Wow.
And I see the impact of that from someone not being able to speak in Bahasa and English, not knowing maths and science, improving so much after joining my mom's classes. And in the end today, they have excelled so well. Because in the end, it's not just about teaching the knowledge, but it's showing that there's someone out there who cares. And that actually opens up people's hearts and minds.
Yeah.
So I think that culture of public service is very rewarding.
Yeah.
And I saw how it rewarded my mom. I still see today, when you look at my mom looks very young despite the fact that she's 60 plus. I mean, I don't say this in front of her, then she'll be like, oh my God, see so it's like, you're good looks for me. Okay. But I can say it here lah.
Yeah. Your mom is beautiful, I have to say that.
Yeah, but I think it's because of her public service. Because it keeps her going. She's passionate. She doesn't see this as a job.
Yeah.
She loves doing it. She smiles, laughs because of it. So I see that as something which impacts me today. So it's not about material gain.
Yeah.
It's not only about positions and power, but in reality, deep down, it is about public service. And that's why, before I joined politics, I wanted to be a teacher and a lecturer. And to be fair, I was before. I was a part-time lecturer. I had the youngest part-time lecturer in my university. And at the same time, I was teaching TKC, KTJ, debating and public speaking. And then after I broke a few records, I was given the opportunity to teach in more than 20 countries abroad.
That's mad.
Yeah, and I enjoyed teaching. I traveled the world for free and with a decent salary because I could teach. And that's why I realized, wow, I don't see this as a job at all. I enjoy it so much. Right? I mean, I even flew to Pakistan. I remember I got into trouble with my mom again. I got an invitation to teach in Pakistan. I think it was in the state of Lahore. But 1 week before that, there was a major bombing.
Okay.
So obviously I knew if I were to ask my mom for permission, she'll say clear cut no.
Yeah.
Right? So I'm like, how do I
But you still want to go?
Of course. Yeah, I've taught in many different parts, riskiest parts, but I enjoy doing it. So I said, how do I tell my mom while not giving her an option to say no? So I said, okay, I'll call my mom when I'm on the airplane just about to depart. Alright? And I called her. I said, Ma, I'm leaving now, going to teach. And I think by then my mom knew I'll travel everywhere. So she won't panic. I said, oh, where? Are you going to Singapore again? Are you going to the UK again? I said, no, I'm going to Lahore. Oh, where? Pakistan. Then she break. Why are you going there? I think because it was a well-known bombing there.
Yeah.
So I said, don't worry. I'll call you once I'm there. When I arrived, checked into the hotel, there was another bombing.
Oh my God.
But I can tell you, I mean, put aside the risk associated to it.
For sure.
That's one of my best trips because I could teach some of the smartest and brightest people, I mean, who were never given a chance.
Yeah.
Right? And I saw them debate, they did remarkably well. And then I had the opportunity, obviously, to meet up with the generals in Pakistan because their sons or daughters were also debaters.
Oh, wow.
So I built decent networks and connections, and the food there was
I've always wanted to visit.
Oh my God, it's the best. And don't go to all these fancy restaurants. Street food, people say, oh, not clean. No. It's clean. I mean, obviously, I take...
As clean as it can be.
As clean as it can be, but the taste is priceless.
Oh my God. Yeah. I mean, your stories are so exciting. We don't hear enough of this. I mean, we obviously, but thanks for sharing. I love what you said about your mom. And I think that also inspired me in some ways because they say, if you love what you do, you won't have to work for a day in your life.
That's absolutely true, yeah.
And it's true. And then your mom is a living testimony of that.
Yeah.
Shout out to Auntie. So cool.
Yeah.
I love that. But despite it all, right, Saddiq, despite everything you have achieved, everything you have experienced, the rich culture that you got to be a part of, the conversation, have you ever be honest with me, felt undeserving of this role that you currently have?
A lot of times. Until today. I mean, it's called Imposter Syndrome, right?
Yes.
Where you feel that you are inferior, unworthy, and as a consequence, feel very small. However, when I face that, I have a way to boost myself up.
Yeah, you got a lot of strategy, I see.
I always believe in building systems. Systems outlast mere willpower. Willpower, you have to have it there.
Yes,
but a system, even in the worst of days, will get you out of the problem.
Let's hear your system.
I have a lot. I mean, not just working out a lot. 3 times a day, my cats.
Wait, you work out 3 times a day?
Yeah, but not like, not your level workout at the gym all the time.
Okay.
And for long. It's very short. So when I wake up in the morning, I'll have my 15-30 minute workout session.
Okay.
Very quick. And it's not like intensive. It's like push-ups, sit-ups, and then
short ones.
You know what you call where you kick your legs.
Knee tuck.
Yeah, I think it's knee tuck. Yeah, but for abs. And then after
crunches.
Crunches, sorry.
Yes.
After lunch, one more time, and then before I go to bed. But it's not before you go to bed, like 30 minutes before you go to bed. It's like maybe 2 hours before.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then, you break it down.
Break it down.
Okay, fair.
If I cannot complete the 3, then I must go to the gym for 30 minutes, which is very quick. I subscribe to a local gym, very small gym. I'll take my electronic scooter, 5 minutes, arrive at the gym, do 30 minutes quick workout. Ciao.
Okay.
Yeah. So the point is that's actually a damn good stress reliever.
It is. You release dopamine and then you feel good instantly.
Yeah. And then again, cinema late at night, driving late at night. I
do that too.
Yeah, there you go. It's good, right? Yeah.
But sometimes it doesn't help. I still feel like shit when I go to bed at night. I feel like, why do I feel this way? I feel like I'm not good enough. I don't deserve this. I think these actionable steps are great, but sometimes it's more mental than physical at some point.
And that's where having a good support structure matters, right? Having friends, family members who keep on reminding you, hey, I mean, this is you.
Yeah.
I mean, you deserve this. But above and beyond that, I still think, despite I go through that, still slightly okay because I know of many people around me, especially strong women, who I know personally are much better than me by merit, but they undervalue themselves more than I undervalue myself. Right? I mean, one simple example is my debate partner when I'm in university. I'm not going to mention the name, but she's an exceptional lady. Right? Even when we were debating together, I knew that she was better. But then there will be times where I will outrank her and I'll get the awards. I mean, you have to embrace it and have that level of confidence because if you release it, you will do so much better. Yeah. Right? And to be fair, we broke many records together, but...
So she's like your partner in crime.
Definitely,
Right.
Yeah. And even today, I mean, she's still very close to me. I know she's really, really damn good. But even now when she's one of the directors or like bosses in one of the major foreign consultancy firms, and yet there's still a little bit of the element. I'm like, hey, you kidding me? You're like on that level.
Yeah.
But yeah, I know quite a number of ladies, like including some of the ladies who I'm coaching in MUDA, my party, and I can't tell you that. I mean, I think one thing which I have is a little bit an eye for talent, and I know you are much better than how I was like when I was 23 and 24. You are much better.
Yeah.
You've done so much more welfare work. You are selfless. You are willing to set everything aside to help someone. I mean, your heart is in the right place, yet there's this little bit of undervaluing yourself. So I try my best to send that message that you are so much more than what other people may say you are, or internally where you may have the imposter syndrome.
Can I just thank you for saying that? Because sometimes not all men think the same way. A lot of them tend to like to mansplain you, talk you down, make you feel small because men superior, women should stay at home, like how you used to think of women.
I call zaman jahiliya. Jahiliya is like the dark days.
Jahiliya?
Yeah.
Your zaman jahiliya, you're right. And until today, I have experienced men who makes me feel that way. So I think it's all the smallest things, right? Like the word that you put out, like comes out from your mouth to your team as a man, to a woman, as our ally, I think makes a big difference. So yeah, I just want to thank you for that. But speaking of women, in one of your latest stories, you mentioned that MUDA is committed to 50% women candidates.
Yes.
I have to say that 50% is a very bold statement. I don't think I've ever heard it from any party leaders ever. Okay. So can you break that down for us? Why 50% specifically? And what do you mean by committing to this?
Yeah. See, I shared you my stories, how I was before and how now when I'm given the opportunity to give other people opportunities, I must be able to use the power, which I have, the limited power to give opportunities to others. And when I say 50%, it's not just a quota or a number. I know this is by merit. In reality, they deserve it. They have worked so much harder than many of us. And if they were given a chance, they will turbocharge themselves forward ahead of me. And if that happens, I feel happy. I don't feel threatened. And that's where, in the same way how I was given an opportunity before, I think they must be given even more opportunities because the current structure actually really, really hurts the ability of women to join.
It does.
Not just sexism, you being continuously judged how you look, how you dress instead of your values, your policies, your ideals, a lot of distractions. And these are all barriers for women to enter. I haven't even mentioned the capital barrier and everything else. So I think putting this target, it's not just my own personal goal, but also makes it a party goal for all of us to start training the young ladies now, right? So that when they're given a chance, they get better and better and better. And I always like to aim high because let's say even if you don't reach 50%, if you fall short 45, that's still like
quite high.
That's like not just quite, that's like 4 times higher than the average. Because today in Parliament, it's only about 11 to 13% of women.
Yes.
I mean, that's depressing, right?
Sadly, yeah.
It's not, it's depressing. It's really depressing.
Yeah.
And yet we keep on asking why there are not enough laws which protect women, assistance, childcare, and everything else.
Yeah.
So this is an area of interest which I care a lot about. And then I even remember, I mean, when I was serving in the ministry, even though this was not under my portfolio, there was a discussion about what's the best way to give cash assistance to the underprivileged, right? And the typical model is to give it to the so-called breadwinner of the family. And mind you, the breadwinner is defined immediately as man.
A man.
Right?
Yes.
I mean, even though, again, it's not necessarily true, but it's defined that way. Yeah, I remember me and two other ministers were like, no. We want to make decision based on data. I don't want to just say, oh, gender. Very easy for people to rebut me. I say, follow data.
Yeah.
Data have shown mothers, whether they work or not, are more likely to spend every single dollar allocated by the government to their children's education and through the family's welfare. They are less likely to spend it on either cigarettes, alcohol, gambling, everything else. And this is data driven. I'm not just making this up.
Yeah.
So I said, instead of transferring it to the men, why do we transfer it to the ladies?
Yeah.
Right? And there's actual data backing this. I remember then we were very close to get it. And mind you, this is not a small policy.
Yeah.
Because government transfers almost 80 billion worth of subsidies a year. When you look at cash handouts, I think it's about 10 to 15 billion.
Yeah.
Can you imagine 10 to 15 billion transferred to women to control? I think that will help things a lot. And I think that will help men. That will help the children, education in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
And this is definitely one area of interest which I want to do.
I mean, that made me feel very emotional because I grew up with a single mom. And it's true, I've seen how she gave every single of her penny to me and my sister's education.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, my dad is a different story, but you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, so my data is part of that data, I guess.
Yeah. No, definitely, it's right.
Yeah. And speaking of young women, okay, let's talk about Melanie Ting, your newest 23-year-old young lady that's one of the youngest candidate of MUDA as well.
Yeah.
I love that this is happening, but the rakyat, the people also have a lot to say about this.
That's fair.
She's young, she's woman or not, but she's so young.
Yeah.
How is she going to take on this role? So what's your take on that?
I mean, see, when I was 23, I was given a chance.
Yeah.
And I wasn't just given a chance, I had the greater privilege of having like national leaders like former Prime Minister, Deputy Prime Minister to pull me.
Yeah.
Now that I'm okay and in a stable position, do I deprive someone younger of the opportunity when I benefited from it? No. If anything, if I benefited from that system, I owe a duty to pull a lot more young leaders up with me so that it becomes a team. So people always look at Syed Saddiq, MUDA is Syed Saddiq, Syed Saddiq, Syed Saddiq. No, you see it's Syed Saddiq because we haven't had the chance and the opportunity to train or to give opportunities to many others. And I can say in the clearest of terms that Melanie at 23 has done so much more than me when I'm 23. I mean, she has already completed a law degree.
Yeah.
At the same time, she has been working for the past few years already from a very young age. She has led multiple projects and programs.
Yeah.
She dropped everything to lead our volunteering squad, which was not a small squad. There were thousands of people during floods in 2021.
Yeah.
And she has been super insistent on just going down that path.
Yeah.
And I think her heart is in the right place.
Yeah.
Right? And she feels very passionate talking about women empowerment, youth empowerment with data and facts. So, I mean, when I know that she's really good, do I just deprive her of the opportunity to contest just because she's young? She's not contesting to become the minister and prime minister. This is an adun.
Yeah.
Adun is a state level, not even parliament, state level.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, if we don't even give them that chance,
Yeah.
when else are we going to give? And to me, it's not just about Melanie. I mean, just yesterday, 2 days ago, there's another young lady we feel that 26-year-old Afrina. Again, she doesn't have experience. Hey, this lady has a master's.
Wow.
She's a young engineer. She has worked 3 different jobs, right? As a professional, got paid decent amount of money. I know that because when I pleaded to her, please consider to contest, she had to quit her job. She had to quit her job to contest because she knew that her heart is in the right place. She wants to impact policy changes. And while being a professional, working in the private sector with a master's, a young engineer, she has been volunteering for the past 4 years in detail. And yet we say, oh, too young. You know what frustrates me? I mean, do they put the same standard on others? I mean, it's so unfair.
Yeah.
Right?
It is.
I mean, I believe I had a much easier time.
As a man too.
Correct.
Your position is already different from birth.
Correct. So, again, I'm not saying that criticisms are not warranted. Feel free to do so.
Yeah.
But I hope the same criticisms will also be leveled on others. I mean, what about those who are 40s and 60s today who are reliant on political handouts, reliant on political posts, who have never had that level of experience? Who never had any private sector experience. These are people who have. Give them a chance. And I think until we give them a chance, we wouldn't know what they can do to serve us.
Yeah. I have a question for you though. Would you be willing to let a woman take the leadership before you?
Oh, definitely.
I love that.
I mean, just to show how much I believe in this. I think in our time and age, we will get our very first female prime minister.
Amen.
I had the privilege of serving our very first female deputy prime minister. I remember then I had different views before I worked with her. But when I worked with her, I noticed that, fine, she may not be like the most typical politician. You have to be like super cutthroat.
Yeah.
Like you have to be hyper decisive at that very moment.
Yeah.
But she brought a different angle. She was very compassionate. She saw things which we didn't. She cared about issues which we may not have cared as much. And I realized that working with Datuk Sri Wan Aziza was an absolute privilege, right? And it really changed my views on many things.
Yeah.
And moving forward, I think in Malaysia, there are so many great young female talents, the likes of Hana Yo, Yobin, MUDA, there's Amira Aisha, many others, you know? And I think it will happen in our generation. And in MUDA, I've made it very clear, not just internally, but externally as well. We've made it a clear stance that in the party elections, if there is a lady, even a lady from a racial minority who can perform better than me, that person deserves to take over my post. Because if I don't start it in MUDA and then I start talking it from a national level, I'm not walking the talk. Right? And I don't think there should be that ambition barrier, you know, lady cannot, racial minority cannot. And just putting that ambition barrier actually is psychologically disheartening. Right? It's like, oh, I have this barrier, others don't. I think that's unfair. We need to allow people to dream the big dreams so that in the future, when they get there, they can help many others.
You have no idea how much that means to a lot of them who are listening right now, especially the young women. So on behalf of them, and possibly me in the future, I don't know how, if I'm interested to join politics, to do what you guys do, how can they start? Where do they go? Because it's not something that we learn in school.
Easiest way, volunteer. Join our programs, meet the family. I say family because it's really like a family.
Yeah.
And from there onward, make your views very clear. I think if you contest, you definitely win. You've already made your views very clear. No, seriously. Right? I mean, thing, people think that politics, before you join, you have a lot of money, you have a lot of supporters, networks. I mean, to say it, I mean, it matters, but not the most. Today is very different. Because a lot of voters are actually very matured. You can put 1,000 flags against one, that one flag can still win against 1,000.
I agree.
But people want to know, what change do you want to bring? What are your ideals? What are your values? Right now, you've spoken very passionately about many things, dealing with sexual harassment, women empowerment, opportunities, wage differences, name it, right? I mean, so I think that in and of itself is a lot more valuable than just coming and saying, hey, I have 1 million to spend. I have 1 million, but if you say the most ridiculous of things, 110% you will lose. So my suggestion, I think you're already doing it, to be honest. In your every podcast, you're already speaking much better than a politician. You are fighting on issues which may have been forgotten or sidelined.
Yeah.
I think that's politics, essentially.
Really?
Yeah.
And I've never really thought about politics, but the more I learn, the more I know, the more I feel, the more I feel like I can't just talk.
Yeah.
Eventually, maybe not now, I don't know. But you definitely sparked something in me. So thank you. And speaking of elections, I mean, this is just my experience. Correct me if I'm wrong. Not gonna lie. The time or only time I hear people talk about politics, at least people in my circle, is when elections is around the corner.
Yeah.
Let's be honest, kan? Especially the youth,
Yeah.
And we all know that the state election for Kedah, Penang, Selangor, Negeri Sembilan, Terengganu and Kelantan is happening very soon on the 12th of August.
Correct.
Is that
12th
correct?
of August.
Yes.
Set your date, guys.
Yes, set your date, please. I think I talked about this in a previous episode with YB Hannah Yo, that why it's so important to vote. But now that GE is done, I feel like I hear a lot of, it's just state election, what? Not even general election, I vote for what? Already vote, but vote again for what? Please tell us, what's your take?
Remarkably important because this state election is not the same like other state elections. You have 6 states together, which effectively means that half the voting population will be expected to vote. 10 million voters, guys. I mean, it's not like Johor and Melaka there, it's just like one state. These are 6, and not just the normal 6. People say these are the economic engines. Selangor, where a quarter of our GDP comes from. Penang, our semiconductor hub or our export hub. I mean, yes, there are 6 states which are up for play. But above and beyond that, state elections, the reason I feel very passionate about state elections, because actually a lot of the things which affect us
directly.
Directly is under the jurisdiction of the state, not federal. I'll give a basic example. You're very angry that in front of your house, potholes, state. That your rubbish is not taken in time, state. If you are a green person, I say green, not green, but a climate activist, right? You care about climate change, you care about climate disasters, land issues, under state. Degazettement of forests, under state. Often big multi-billion-dollar projects without much transparency being put in or being built from your house, land, state. It's all under the state, right? So it is very important, not just on a state and localized basis, but also since 10 million people will be expected to vote.
That's a lot.
This is also a national referendum on whether things are going as what we want. Are the reforms taking place as fast as we want? Is the education system being overhauled as what we want? Because it won't be a change in federal government. You cannot change it because of state election. But what you can do is to send a message that, hey, I'll support you in federal government, but this is a protest vote or a wake-up call because you're not doing enough on education. You're not doing enough on wages. You're not doing enough on women empowerment. Not doing enough on dealing with that old political hierarchical system. So I actually think that this state election is very unique. It's very important, and I hope that fellow Malaysians will come back to vote.
And I certainly hope so too. I hope by the time you listen to this episode, there is still time for you to decide and make that trip down to wherever you are from.
Yep.
Right? I know what it feels like going to the gym and feel completely clueless and intimidated. I was once there. That's why I started Motion Lab. We're a fitness studio that focuses on small group classes and personal training. Our goal is simple: to help you move better so you can live better. Start your first class for only 49 ringgit today. For more info, go to www.motionlab.live or check us out on IG at motionlabmy. It's motionlabmy. Speaking of voting and speaking of elections, in Jin's podcast last year, you said that it's better to go in as a team than an individual.
Oh, yes.
Which I'm sure you still stand for.
Yep.
But a lot of people, I'm sure, want to know as well, why is MUDA contending alone this time, this upcoming state election? Because won't this split the votes between the urban / Pakatan Harapan in some ways then benefiting the
That's a very good point.
Yes.
I think from the onset, I think you should be asking them, why didn't they accept us? I mean, it's like unrequited love. No, I mean, it's not unrequited love, but we did try to be very frank and honest. Not once, not twice.
Many times.
Thrice. 3 times. Imagine sending love letters and not getting any response.
Can reject.
But it's not, to be honest, it's not because of that.
Okay.
And the reason why we wanted that meetup, it's not because of positions or seats. It was to extract policy concessions.
Okay.
I mean, when you're in government, you are expected to make that difference.
Yes.
We have been speaking very passionate about overhauling our education system, from transitioning to a pure race-based system to one which is a lot more merits and needs-based, right? We've been talking very passionate about how today there is an exodus of students from national schools going to other systems of education, whether it's private or international, including middle-class Malay parents willing to spend a quarter of their monthly income because of the lack of faith in our national curriculum. And there must be an overhaul in it. It will not be easy, but it must be done. Yeah. We've been speaking very passionately how, for example, the smartest and brightest of Malaysians, recently a 19-year-old lady who can get into Harvard University and 2 other Ivy Leagues, but was deprived the opportunity to get into our pre-university. I mean, if that's not a travesty and an injustice, I do not know what else is, right? And I think I can give you a whole list when it comes to political reform. There's too many. And I'm not asking for it to be done overnight.
Yeah.
I'm asking for that to show progress. Maybe you can't change everything, but there's like 10%, 20%. You change this part of the law. But my fear is when it is too slow and when some reforms are being backtracked, then I think it's time to send a wake-up call. Right? Because that wake-up call will not change the federal government, but it will lead the federal government after state elections to take our voice a lot more seriously. Yeah. And above and beyond that, I think state elections is very unique because I give a very simple example. Look at Melanie. Right? Melanie is contesting for a state seat in Bukit Antarabangsa. Bukit Antarabangsa is under Parliamen of Ampang. Okay, let me show you why I always believe in having choices or alternatives. Because alternatives lead to checks and balances so that everyone will be on their toes wanting to work in the best way possible. Federal government is under the same coalition. State government is under the same coalition. Member of Parliament in Melanie's area, same coalition. Ahli Majlis, same coalition. Ketua Kampung, same coalition. All 5 power structures, same coalition. We're merely asking, give us a chance to put Melanie in so that she can be your voice of conscience. She can be your alternative so that if anything bad happens, she can be your voice. Because a system in which monopolizes control by only one party, I think does not do justice to our choices and for Malaysians. And we're not here to character assassinate. You see how she campaigns, she keeps on talking about her ideas. I think that's good for Malaysia because that keeps us on our toes. And instead of we needing to wait reforms for 5-10 years, with competition, you can get it in 2 or 3 years.
Yeah, I'm digesting that, by the way. Wow. But what about the long-term goal for MUDA? Yeah. Because you guys are very urban, very modern. How do you plan to have a party like yours to appeal to the rural conservative section of the society, which is also the biggest part of the electorate? Yeah,
that's fair. I mean, I just want to point some stats out, right? Yeah. Actually, the majority, I mean, the majority parts of Malaysia are already urbanized.
Yes.
And as time passes by, it will keep on urbanizing.
Sure.
And at the same time, the Malaysian electorate is actually very multiracial in nature. That's why, for example, the key swing states are like Selangor, Negeri Sembilan, Johor, which actually is very multiracial. I mean, even if it's not, it's like Muar is actually almost super Malay majority, 70% Malay. But then there's still a decent racial representation. So why I'm sharing this, I actually believe that the majority of Malaysians share the same common dream and common interests. They want good quality jobs, good quality education, good public transportation. They care about climate change. They want to have a good retirement fund. And while they retire, they want to ensure their children and grandchildren live a decent life in Malaysia. Peaceful, prosperous, with unity.
Yeah.
All right? However, I think when we try to look things from a racial lens, you are dividing this, you are splitting this so much.
Yeah.
We try to pander to both sides too much. For example, my phrase is, and that's why I think MUDA must enter.
Okay.
Because I think there is a sense of comfort that multiracial moderate Malaysia will forever be our loyal vote bank and safe deposit and will never move. As a consequence, we will try to pander to the other side. I don't. There are too many occasions, right? Whether it's about the reform on our education system, which mind you, 20 years ago, every day they all said, we are going to do this. And now it's like, nope, we're going to keep it as it is.
Yeah.
I'm not asking you to overhaul everything, but at least show.
Yeah.
I mean, when it comes to dealing with concerts and brickbats on concerts, I mean, there are so many things which we should be a lot more gun-ho.
Yeah.
Right? I'm not asking you to abolish our constitution. No, I'm a man of the constitution. I believe in our rukun negara. But that just shows that our strength lies in our diversity, right? Because Malaysia, it's not about assimilation. Malaysia is about integration. We are a salad bowl and not a melting pot.
Yeah.
And that's our strength. So to me, it's not just about this state election. That's why, I will get a heart attack if I only think about MUDA's outcome in the state election, because it's not easy. We only have 1 month.
Correct.
1 month.
Correct.
But when I start thinking and seeing this as an investment for the next 20 years, winning hearts and minds instead of practicing the politics of pandering, slowly growing, because knowing, people, why do you contest all in Kelantan, Kedah? If we have the resources, we would.
You will. Yeah.
But we have to be very realistic.
Yeah.
We are not even contesting in 10% of the seats, right?
Yeah.
There are 240 seats. We're contesting in like 15 or 20. So not even close to that amount. But we have 20 years ahead of us.
Yeah.
I think I have 20 years ahead of me. And then after that, it will be carried out by the younger generation.
Yeah.
But I think we can do it. It will take time.
Yeah.
It will be tough. There will be many losses.
Yeah.
But as long as our hearts are in the right place and we see this as an investment, I think we'll be okay.
Yeah. And I think you definitely answered the question really, really well. And I hope that gave you guys some clarity as to why this time MUDA is contesting alone for good reasons. I've always been very curious about this since we're talking about policies and stuff. Sidang Parliamen. What is it? Like, how does it work? Like, how do you prepare for it? And like you said, there's so many different causes, social issues that is important. How do you prioritize on which one that you take on?
As Aisha, I have my system.
Yes, I love it.
I'll always improve on my system. So usually 1 month before Parliament starts, I'll do my listening tour. Well, I visit different communities, different groups, different professions to listen to their concerns so that I can raise it up better via stories and also facts and data.
Yeah.
So for an example, before Parliament starts, I'll meet up in my constituency, the manufacturing players, whether in nursery or furniture. I'll meet up the SMEs. I'll meet up with fishermen. So that then I understand what are their concerns. And I meet up with young people in universities or those who drop out from universities. I'll meet up with those who work in a gig economy and not wanting to further their studies. And then
by yourself and your
me
team.
and my team. Yeah. So there will be us going, and then once we collect everything, then we start to synthesize and prioritize. Which one will be important? Because in Parliament, you can only submit 10 or 20 questions beforehand.
How often does it happen, the Sidang Parliament?
So Parliament happens about 3 times a year. The time may differ. It may be longer, some may be shorter. But today, above and beyond the formal parliamentary session, every month, we have our parliamentary select committee. Not all MPs are in the select committees, but I am.
Okay.
And I think I'm in the best select committee.
Oh.
Because I'm in the select committee, which meets up about twice a month, in charge of the Ministry of Education, Higher Education, Tourism, human resource, Prime Minister's office, and Unity. It's like 6. It's a mega select committee. But that allows us to come up with... So select committee is less noise because not a lot of media coverage. But that also means you can focus on policy making, negotiation, and diplomacy.
And actually doing stuff.
Correct. So, as I was sharing, how do you build a system as you move away from that pure quota-based to one which is needs-based and merit-based? I mean, if you just say it outside, everyone will immediately start with their party line. Cannot, because our party stands on this. But in a select committee, you can negotiate. You can say, okay, I understand you want to protect the interests of the underprivileged Malays. We want that too. But can you consider to increase the threshold of acceptance of poor Indian and Chinese children? Right. So maybe envision a situation in which maybe is 40-40-20, right? Instead of like 100% or 90% this way. I say 40-40-20 is like, for example, this is like pure merit based, and then there's a quota for the underprivileged. I mean, you don't call it, but it's like quota for the underprivileged, regardless of race and religion. And then there's also still that 30% Bumi quota for an example, right? So then you can start to assess. You have the data pool. You still are in line with the constitution. You're not against constitution. And above and beyond that, you still get to cover everyone who comes from an underprivileged background, who deserves to get in that course, having access to that course. Because again, if you look at data, actually the trade-off is not that this poor Chinese underprivileged kid will take the place of this poor Malay underprivileged kid. No. That's not the trade-off. The trade-off often is that poor Chinese or Indian underprivileged kid will most likely take the position of the son or daughter of a very rich family. That is the trade-off. If you look at data, that is the trade-off. And I will tell you today, I will defend that trade-off. We must protect the underprivileged. So when we portray it that way, then people say, oh, actually, But outside it's portrayed as, oh, now lower middle income, underprivileged Malays will lose their rights, their status. They cannot, because now they cannot compete because they're very poor. Because again, the misperception that all Chinese are rich, they can send their children towards tuition, they have the access to the best schools, their parents have the best of networking. No. You should be looking at the poor family in Parit Jawa, Muar, that Chinese family who's already in poverty. What about them? Right? So, select committees, bipartisanship, that's where you get better outcomes.
Right. What about Parliament that I'm talking about, the bigger sessions?
Oh, yeah,
where people shout all, right? Is that really the norm? Like they shout all the time?
Sadly, I mean...
But why? Why do you need to get your point across by yelling and shouting like that?
I'm asking the same question, to be honest. I mean, you don't see me shout. I mean, even when I'm shouted at, I'll be like, I may be very passionate in how I speak, but I don't shout. But I remember then people call me cucu, budak mentah.
I watched that video.
Cucu, budak mentah, kind of thing. So in my mind, I really just wanted, you better start praying because you may fall in your graveyard soon. But,
I would have said the same thing.
But that means I'm stooping myself low to their level, which I wouldn't want to do it. But also in the more sassy side of me, I'm like, it'll be quite interesting response, but I'm not going to say that. So instead of saying that, I said, I'm not going to say that, but deal my points, right? I'm raising ABC for a reason.
Because sometimes they say points that don't make sense at all. Like,
to do. I was talking then about the reform of our parliament, democracy, the seat of the speaker, and then suddenly all of this came up. I'm like, what in those has absolutely nothing to do with the debate at hand.
And then sometimes that gets me pissed off as hell is when they start giving sexist comment to the women leaders, especially YB Hannah. I've seen how she's taken everything with so much grace. It's so frustrating.
I mean, Hannah is one. Back then, YB Kasturi, now she's no longer in Parliament. I think she retired temporarily or not. But yeah, I mean, not just because she's a lady, but because the colour of her skin, the race in which she was born into. I mean, that's just ridiculous, right? It's just blatantly wrong.
Absolutely wrong. Which leads me to my next question. There is this saying that you either die a hero or you live long enough to become the villain. So it's very clear. You are there. That there is a need for younger voices in Parliament, but to achieve that we need space. So my question is, I will try to approach this as delicately as possible. Do you believe that there should be a cutoff point for some of the senior members to retire?
I mean, if it's up to me personally, I want a lot of them to retire already, like 10, 20 years ago, right? But
Yeah.
in a democracy, you cannot have a law which limits who can contest. That may be anti-democratic.
Fair.
But my hope is that voters will send a message. And to be very fair and frank, last election, voters did send that message.
They spoke up.
Correct. So I'll leave that to the electorate. But my responsibility is to ensure that there are laws, systems which provide equal opportunities, allow for young leaders to climb up and older leaders to leave. So again, I always wear my policy hat because today I may say this, 10 years down the road, if the system is not built that way, I may be forced to become someone else. I don't want that. So what do I think will be better? Instead of having this law of, if you are 65 or 60, you can no longer become an NP.
I think that's not what we meant to, but
Correct, So a few key things. Number one, as I shared, I think all parties must contest with one another to be fielding a lot more women and young people. And have that internal competition, which I already see happening after Undi 18. Everyone wants to talk about fielding young people. Everyone wants to make youth issues national issues, which is great. So that's one, an internal mechanism. Two, I think Undi 18 is the biggest turbocharge. When Undi 18 was implemented with Undi Automatic, immediately young people made up 55% of the electorate. We are the majority, we are the kingmakers. And then everyone will start talking about it. That's two. And point number three is to have our very first political funding act, which will equalize the playing field. Because at the moment, when you don't have a political funding act, who will get prioritized as candidates? Those who come from traditional political families with great networks, those with a lot of money, those with decades of experience, or those who come from an established party. Right? So that means those who are young, women in particular, inexperienced,
no chance.
But with a political funding act, for example, we can already carve out saying if you're a young candidate, we'll cover your deposit and some basic costs. And the state will provide that because it is within the interest of the state to promote diversity. In the US, they have the, I think, Barbara Fund, where regardless of parties, if you feel a candidate who's young, who believe in his ideals and values, you will get funding. It doesn't care whether you are Democratic or Republican. So I think that's a beginning to ensure that you can equalize the playing field. If not today, you want to join, you need to have so much money, so much power, family.
Powerful family to
Correct,
support.
which is, to me, bad for democracy. So in a way, these three things create a very diverse democratic structure where there's equal opportunities, not equal outcomes. But above and beyond that, when we talk about diversity, it's not just about having everyone young. Diversity also means having old people, different races, religions, values. To me, that diverse pool makes Malaysia a great place.
I have a question though. How much money do you need to start?
As a candidate?
Yeah, like how much money do you need?
Well, there's no one answer. It depends where you contest. In an urban seat, I'd say you need to spend much less.
Okay.
Despite the fact that urban seat have like hundreds of thousands of voters. But let's say you contest in a rural seat, despite the fact there's only 1/10 the voter in an urban seat, you have to spend so much more. Why?
There's more work to do.
There's more work to do. The place is much larger. The population is very sparsely located. Right? They're very sparsely located. And often these are areas with abject poverty. So that's where, when you deal with a lot of people in poverty, you have to work the ground 5-10 years before, right? Because your opponents will most likely just go there during election time and say, I'll give you 1,000 ringgit if you vote for me.
Yeah.
But if you build that strong network 5-10 years before, you can give money, they'll still vote for the other side, right? So that's where maybe you need to start working way earlier, which requires more resources. But if I can put a ballpark figure, as long as you run a lean and mean political operation, you don't have to be lavish, having flags, banner buntings everywhere. I mean, you don't have to do that. I'd say if it is in Selangor, maybe 50,000 ringgit.
Okay.
About 50,000 ringgit. And that covers like in and out, like flags, volunteers, your deposit. And if you get a deposit back, you get the 10,000 ringgit back. So 40,000.
Oh, I never knew you needed money to start, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, definitely you need that's why
Your own pocket money or?
often it's your own pocket money.
Oh wow.
Oh, I remember I did multiple fundraising. I was selling everything which I had. I withdrew money from my ASB.
And then you went bald as well at one time.
Oh yeah, that was the other part. That was when I was already elected.
Oh.
And then in my constituency, it's suburban to rural.
Yeah.
Right? So that's where you need to spend more. And the government then, in the midst of COVID, stopped giving any funding to MUA. So I'm like, I can't just let them suffer, right? Just because they voted opposition. So yeah, I did all this fundraising, and believe it or not, we raised, I think about 3 to 4 million ringgit. So much we gave, like, I think MUA, despite not getting federal funding, we gave like the most laptops and tablets, and quality laptops and tablets, about almost 2,000 plus. I mean, we covered the transportation cost of people to get their COVID vaccines.
Yeah.
We gave out, I think, the most food baskets among all constituencies, including the Prime Minister's location.
Yeah.
I think about 30 to 50,000.
Yeah.
And that all came from crowdfunding. And that's why I say young people, when we face a problem, we innovate, we think out of the box to reach the same solution.
Having said that, I think my next question really is, do you think that's sustainable without backing, financial backing, compared to many others?
I think it is sustainable if you can build a steady support base, which is among the masses.
Okay.
I give a very simple example. Look at Bernie Sanders in the United States. He's very old. I mean, he's very, very old, yet his supporters are very, very young.
Yeah.
Right? And he raised $250 million US, not even as the presidential candidate, just as a nominee from the party. That means internal party elections, before the party selects who will run against the Republican, internally raised $250 million US. The majority of campaign donation for President Barack Obama came from small donors as well. Not to say there are no big donors, they are, but the majority came from small donors. So I think it's often a mix. There will be big donors who want to donate, but usually when you're not in government, they won't donate much. For example, they'll give you 10,000, they'll give those in government 1 million.
Oh yeah, of course.
And the disparity is huge.
And we know why.
Correct.
Yes.
Which, that's why I say we need a political funding act. We have to change it. If not, Malaysia will forever be of the same system no matter who's in government.
How far in are we with the political funding act? Has it even started?
This one, no, definitely. This is very close to my heart.
Okay, tell me.
After I successfully brokered the deal to get the constitutional amendment in for Undi 18 via 2/3 support, my next project was a political funding act.
Okay.
So even though it's not under the portfolio of Ministry of Youth and Sports, but Cabinet then gave me the power to negotiate. And the Presidential Council of Pakatan Harapan gave me the power to negotiate. And I felt very passionate because I believe in diplomacy. I'll speak to everyone in government and opposition to find that middle path.
Yeah.
And we found a middle path. Thanks to great civil servants in MACC and GICC, and then in multiple negotiations, we found a middle path. It was supposed to be tabled in Parliament March 2020. Government changed and they never saw the light of day again.
Oh no.
But what frustrates me when the government has changed again today is still not seeing the light of day. And that's where I get very frustrated, right? Because in the end, if you don't change laws, you can change the Prime Minister, you can change the parties 1,000 times, but the system remains to be a problematic system where you need money, where it's about quid pro quo.
Yeah.
I get into power, I have to give you this, and then then you give me this, it may not go to me, but it may go to the party as political donation. So the point I'm trying to make, the system must be better. So in the US, obviously, these are all big political donations. I mean, the Republican candidate, whoever becomes a Republican candidate will get $1 billion, not one, $1 billion from the Koch brothers. They'll get it. It's perfectly legal. It doesn't go to the person, it goes to the party for campaign financing. But everything is hyper transparent.
Right.
I know who donates. I know where every single cent is being spent. I know how much Michelle Obama spends on her hair during the campaign trail. So to that detail.
But it's not the case with...
Oh, Malaysia is like...
Tak payah cakap lah.
Oh, yo. That's why we want to start this new culture, but it must be via the Political Funding Act.
Yes.
So that's why in MUDA today, we're trying to do something different.
Yeah.
We rely on crowdfunding. I mean, the majority of our donations come from crowdfunding, not from all this million. Okay, we don't have these millions. That's why we can only contest in like small number of seats. But...
Gotta start somewhere.
Yeah, you have to start somewhere. And then you build onwards. And when people start believing in your vision... They may not give you a huge check, but even a small check, but divided into 10,000 people will be huge enough to help us.
And like you said, it's an investment for the future. It's not to make this short-term changes, but a long-term one.
Correct. Yeah.
So I personally look forward to what MUDA has has in store for everyone and what you guys will do.
Yeah.
But having said that, right, I think there's just so much pressure on you right now. I've seen the hate. I've seen the comments. How are you dealing with that? Personally, honestly. Does it make you cry sometimes?
A long time ago, maybe not now.
Okay.
I think to some extent today, I wouldn't say I've grown immune, but I've learned to accept it a lot better. Like previously, it would be much tougher, especially when it's also targeted to my parents.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, like, why drag parents unnecessarily in? But today, I think because I've gone through a lot of like moments of sacrifice, right? When I first joined politics 2015, I lost my job as a part-time lecturer, as a teacher, as a researcher, special officer to a minister. I mean, everything in like one go.
Yeah, everything.
But then it was very painful. It was very tough. But I persevered. And then when the scholarship from Oxford University came to do my master's in public policy, and I had to
let it go.
Let it go. It was painful as well, but I knew that my heart was in the right place. So now, whenever I am to encounter this kind of harsh criticism, at times it's not criticism. It's like, to be honest,
it doesn't make sense. Right?
Yeah, it's just like your mom is a XXXXX.
Yeah.
That's why you are like this.
Yeah.
So there's no, I don't know what
they
value
attack you so personally.
Yeah. But again, I've learned how to, because you don't want to go the extreme end, which is like thinking that you are always right and you want to muzzle people's voices. I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
That's why so much I remember when I was in the ministry, there was I remember that in cabinet, there was a claim that a young UMNO leader who spoke at the UMNO General Assembly, also under scholarship, was about to be taken action. I defended, I don't care which party you're from. I said, I went through that. Why does anyone want to take action against young people who want to speak up? I said, no, this practice must stop. And it was stopped. I remember then, under my ministry, there's a program called Fellow Perdana Fellow, where regardless of your background, you apply and you'll be interns under ministers.
Yeah.
At that point in time, many UMNO members got in. Not just UMNO members, card-holding members with leadership positions. And remember, many ministers then didn't want to accept them.
Oh.
So I remember, why do I want to accept them? Just because they're from different... No, I did. I had to take more. I put them under me directly. In the end, among my fellows, I think like 80% of them were like in the opposition then.
Oh, wow.
But I said, so what? Just so that they know how I work.
Yes.
It's not like they will sabotage. We are finding areas of progress for the country.
Yeah.
And I don't want Malaysia to be hyper toxic and divisive. Or you wear this, you come from this race, this religion, you come from this party, cannot. It's not right. So I think I've grown to some extent used to this kind of things. And I don't believe in making politics very personal, extending or perpetuating that vicious cycle of vengeance and vendetta. So today, I think I handled it so much better.
That's good to know. And of course, I can't have you on Head Over Heels without asking you this. We are a women's podcast after all. I'm all about empowering and educating women. So we are very curious. Do you think Malaysia is on the right track with championing gender equality?
Not enough.
So what more can be done?
Regionally, I'd say we are okay.
Yeah.
Because if you compare to other countries, in terms, not just in government, you look at private sector participation in boards, I think Malaysia hasn't reached that 30%, but you see a lot of them leading important GLCs and agencies. Private sector, I think there's a lot more which can be improved, but if you look at the startup scene, there are a lot of great ladies taking center stage as well. Can we do better? 110%. But I think regionally, we're decent. Should we, do we say that's enough?
Never enough.
No. I mean, we're still not there.
Yeah.
So I just shared with you just now when it comes to government policies on cash aid distribution. It goes to men in the families. I've spoken about how do we find a middle path for women with a career be able to excel while also starting up a family, right? There's this double dip theory is that Women do very well
Yes.
in universities, much better than men. When they work, they do very well, but immediately when they have their firstborn, then there is a crash.
There's a dip.
And then they have to go back and start again.
Yeah.
So how do we stop that double dip so that it's all the way up instead of
Up and down.
down?
Yeah.
Because of a personal choice to start a family. It's not fair.
Yeah.
Right? That and above and beyond that, again, it also means a lot more assistance when it comes to childcare. Because that's what allows women to engage in career progression while starting up a family without ignoring the responsibility of men and women to start up that family together. So I think there's still a lot of areas of interest and progress which we can look at. And I believe that Malaysia will continuously pursue that.
Well, that's great to hear. But something that's been really bugging me is gender-based violence, especially with the recent stalking case with Akasha Diana.
Oh, yes.
So what took so long for the stalking law to be operational? Like 10 years of being stalked, anything could have happened. I'm just so glad she's safe, but anything could have happened. What took so long for us to do something?
I mean, I read about the case as well, just recently when it was posted.
Yeah.
And to be honest, after going through all the details, it is simply inexcusable. There's just no way to justify.
Yeah?
I mean, because she has lodged police reports before.
Yes.
She has already complained about this through multiple different channels.
With evidence.
Correct. With evidence. I mean, not just the screenshots, like, too many locations where they will add photos, everything.
Everything.
And it's not like 1 year, it's like, as you said, 10 years.
And the fact that she has it in such details.
Correct. And only now the government said, oh, okay, sorry, not government. The police said that, okay, lodge one more report. What do you mean lodge it? You have it all there. You have it all there.
Yeah.
I have seen it. Millions of Malaysians have seen it.
Yes.
To me, the fact that there's such a slow response creates fear for other women to also report. And that's a slippery slope, a very dangerous one. And that's why I said, right? I mean, Malaysia has a long way to go on this part. There's a lot more progression. So for example, we need to start equipping our police with gender sensitivity training. We have to ensure that there are a lot more women placed in that unique force, because there is that unique force. Because again, when you talk to someone who may be sexually assaulted, a lady to a lady is much easier. And again, studies have shown that, and we have that force. So again, there's a lot more funding which needs to be done, upskilling, reskilling, direct action instead of waiting. But worse, if there's victim blaming, that is again another part which is inexcusable.
Speaking of victim blaming, can I just add on a little something? I don't know if you heard about this. She's a local radio DJ, Chinese station. Her name is Emily Poon. She recently found a man in her house. So apparently this man has been coming into her house some ways through the balcony or whatnot when she's not at home, because her schedule is fixed as a radio DJ. You have your shows from X amount of time to X amount of time. So he has studied her patterns when she's not at home, but so happened she went on a trip. So her schedule changed. She came home, saw a man walking out of a kitchen. I mean, come on, this is supposed to be your safe space in a condo that has management security guards. Correct. How can this even happen? Sorry,
that's criminal.
I boil.
That's clear-cut criminal.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And even then, I heard at least the management told her, "Oh, it's your fault. Who asked you to look so good, look so pretty?" That's victim blaming.
That's intolerable, inexcusable, and that, to be honest, it's just plain disgusting. Because you are blaming her for a criminal offense.
Exactly.
I mean, and I never believed this notion. Oh my God, you wear a skirt, you're more likely to be attacked than if you wear, fully clothed. We've seen in many cases, if they want to attack, they will still attack. But what's worse is that you put the blame on the victims. That creates an unsafe society, and a society which in the end will do more harm than good.
Yeah, so how can we make Malaysia safer? I mean, sometimes I feel so sad. I just got back from Japan for a solo trip, and I've never felt safer in my life. I can walk out in the middle of the street with my bags, and I just know that I am safe. But sadly, when I come home, I don't feel the same.
I'm always for laws, new laws, because in the end, laws supersede temporary enforcements. That's why as a policymaker, I believe in introducing new laws and ensuring that there are proper allocations in the police force to deal with this. As I've shared when it comes to gender sensitivity training, upskilling and reskilling of the police force, having a lot more women in important departments as well. But above and beyond that, to ensure that in Malaysia, security is our number one priority. I mean, if you go, even when I visited Singapore, China, almost in every single street corner, you'll see a CCTV.
Yes, that's true.
There will be, for you to find a place which is like very dark is very difficult, especially if it is
it's all well lit.
It's all well lit because these are all data-driven policies which will deter crime from taking place to begin with, right? And I don't think that's hard to do. I think that's worth to invest in. But effectively, when people feel safer, they are more productive, they do work better, they build families better. So the multiplier is so much better. So security must still be our priority.
Question, which jurisdiction does this fall under?
Both. That's it. If for CCTVs, there are a lot under state level as well, especially under Ahli Majlis. Right? So police, obviously, I'd say federal.
Yeah.
But there are many jurisdictions which fall under state, especially under Majlis, which is state.
Guys, please vote. I'm serious. Like, I don't know how else to say this. I think we've said enough to make you realize how important your vote is. Because especially this state election, not because you vote already, why you have to vote again, it will directly impact you in ways you don't even realize. Sorry, I get passionate and angry when I talk about this. Last one about the law again. I know I have so many questions, but how long does it take for a law to be operational? Like, just give me a ballpark timeline or like a rough estimate.
I mean, it depends. So, for example, for Undi 18, a crucial constitutional amendment, which is the first in Malaysia's history, which will increase like 7 million voters, and that's huge. I remember then I negotiated a deal. Actually, immediately after the law is passed in Parliament, then you pass it in Dewan Negara, Senate, and then after that you wait for the royal assent, which often will be given, and immediately after that it will be put to law. So in a way, it may take 1-2 months, right? In terms of that cycle. So it's not that long. But for a crucial landmark law like Undi 18, which was very hard to broker because there was a lot of compromises and negotiations. So the agreement was, after there is royal assent, then we'll only implement it 2 years after. Because, again, that means every single election now, there will be an additional cost of about RM500 million because there's such... The voting population effectively almost doubled.
Right.
And at the same time, training, awareness, everything comes in.
Okay.
Right? So, but in the end, now we have it. But mind you, previous governments wanted to stop that at the very last minute by saying, no, we don't have to do it now, we wait. So we had to drag the government to court. This NGO with young people, drag the government to court, won in court to finally get implemented. Again, that's why I keep on saying laws matter. Because when you change laws, the courts will be there to safeguard people's interests and many others.
Okay.
But usually it's about 2 months.
Yeah, 2 months. What about stalking law? So long?
Stalking laws, if you noticed before, I think it was done in 2017, 2018 first.
Yeah.
And then there's anti-grooming, stalking. So why it may take longer? This is the part where it gets slightly tricky. To be honest, this should actually be much faster.
Correct.
Because you don't need 2/3 majority.
Exactly.
Simple majority. And any government will have simple majority. I think all parties will agree.
Yes.
I think that's where people start to debate too much about the intricate details, which may not necessarily be bad, but postponing it too many times.
Not efficient lah.
Correct. And worse, like before, you already have the bill, but you just don't see it as a matter of priority. Because in Parliament, every single ministry and minister want to present their bill. So then you have to wait in line. But when you don't see it as an important bill, then you put it back in line.
It will be put in a back burner. Got it. Understood.
But that's why I believe in longer Parliament sessions.
Right.
So that you get as many bills in.
Can the public go to Parliament? Can I go to Parliament?
Oh, definitely.
Can I join you the next one?
I'd love to host you in Parliament.
Really?
Come over in September.
Okay.
When everyone is there, I'll bring you in and I think you will enjoy the Parliament session. But
how long
just make sure you have earbuds just in case people start shouting.
I will bring my AirPods Pro Max, but like, how long does it take usually?
Parliament session is about a month and a half at times.
Okay.
So, I mean, it's quite long. You can come any one of those
serious.
days.
I want to go.
Yeah, sure.
And I will document it. Can document? Cannot document.
Actually you can. But if you're formal media, then in order for you to interview someone, it must be outside of Parliament.
No, I just document myself in
Okay,
there.
okay.
Oh, okay.
No problem at all. Yeah, you definitely can.
All right. Wow, Saddiq, I've learned so much today. I think I'm someone who's, I would say, compared to my peers, and especially, of course, sitting next to you, I feel like I'm so not the best person, not worthy of even talking about politics because I'm not very politically aware or literate, I feel.
Sorry, I just want to... Politics is about people like you. I mean, don't think that the average Malaysian is like, knows every single party, follow politics every day. Politics is about your freedom of speech to engage in a podcast, having good income, good public transportation, caring about climate change, dealing with issues of abuses or discrimination against women. That everything which you said, not just in this session, previous session, that's politics. So in actuality, you are way ahead than many others. Sorry for intervening. I just want to
No. Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's coming from you. Thank you. I have a lot to reflect on. But yeah, anyway, with every episode, I usually like to end it with a couple of questions with my guest. But I would like to add one more special one, just because it's you. If you could meet your 15-year-old self right now, Saddiq, what would you tell him? However, younger lah. You choose an age.
I said just now about my zaman jahiliah, dark days.
Yeah, what would you tell the person? What would you tell him?
Don't be stupid in many things. Don't be arrogant. Don't be lazy. Listen to your mom. Not on all parts though. Can still be naughty. I think naughty made me who I am today to some extent. But not naughty in a racist, sexist way.
Okay.
So yeah, will I still do the cinema thing?
100%.
Most likely, yes.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
More stories to tell.
Cyber cafe, yes. Judging women and different races differently, no.
Yeah.
So actually a lot of things I like to tell myself. But overall, being young, we make mistakes, we learn from it, we own up to it, and we become better people.
Yes, we do. And definitely there are some things that I'm not proud of what I've done years ago, and now I don't stand for it anymore. I think that's part of growing and part of learning and part of life, right?
Yeah.
Okay, the standard 3 question that you guys know. The first one, what are you currently head over heels for?
Okay, not the best of answers, but unfortunately it will be the state elections because for the next 30 days, it will be that, and more of that. Which is stressful to be honest, but yeah.
I can imagine. So thank you for making time to be here because we appreciate it so very much and all the best for state election.
Thank you, thank you.
Second question, what's the best or worst advice that you've ever received? You can share both.
Yeah, best and worst. I think the best advice is to follow my heart. But follow my heart is a lot more specific. Is follow your heart and do something which gets you excited when you wake up every morning. Because that means you are doing something which you love, which you're passionate about, and keeps you going. So it may not necessarily be about the financial rewards, because you can be financially rewarded, but if you feel dreadful every day, that's painful.
Yeah.
Worst advice is it's very recent.
Yes.
Is that it's okay, just forget your principles. Just survive to fight another day. And I've heard this many times, actually. I mean, in like some of the toughest moments of my life, whether when I was facing the threats personally, and then on my family, and then my scholarship, and then after that, when I was offered a ministerial position, again, when the government was about to change in 2020, and then after that, chairmanship of GLCs, and then came threats after that where I didn't accept. And every time this happened, people, hey, never mind lah, just forget, principle, just survive lah to fight another day. Yeah, so I'm like, that's not how it works. If my survival leads to people suffering, that is not a survival which is worth it.
Yeah.
It's not that I'll die, by the way. It's just like political survival. So again, don't be, I keep on telling people join politics, do not be afraid to lose.
Yeah.
If you are so scared to lose, then politics is not for you. Because that means you are willing to do anything and everything to remain in power, even if it means it hurts the very people who you vouch to protect to begin with.
Oh wow, that's very important. And one last one. 3 words or sentences to describe your life right now.
Can
I guess? Is one a bit chaotic?
Oh, definitely. That's number 1. Chaos is number 1. Oh God, yeah. I'm just thinking about it. Chaos is 1. Two is I'm more risk taking now. I think a lot more risk taking, but it allows for more experimentation, more choices, more mistakes. But I learn.
Yeah.
And the final part is I'm really trying to systematize everything.
Are you not systematic enough?
Not enough. I mean, like, I will do my daily audit on what I can do better. Where do I sneak in my reading time? Where do I...
You have time to read?
Yes. I mean, now, okay. Back then, I always...
Kindle.
I don't know if it's good or bad habit, but whenever I go in the toilet, I always have my book with me or my phone.
Okay.
But my phone, then I'll always read either my BBC, Al Jazeera or The Economist.
Okay.
But I start to realize when I start doing that now, and then it will also trigger for me to check my WhatsApp, check my TikTok, and it's the worst practice.
Yeah.
So now my daily auditing, I'm like, okay, actually I can do all this reading on the phone in the car anyway.
Yes.
So I'm going to replace it with a book and just a book instead. Okay. Yeah, so the point is I'm trying to scheduleize everything.
Auditing your life right now.
Yeah.
Okay. I love that. And with that, that's the end of this episode. Thank you so much. You have no idea how much this means to me.
It's very kind of you. Thank you for having me. I mean, I've been following you for a while and you speak on issues which I truly care about. And hopefully you will continue to inspire not just women, but men and people of all backgrounds.
Yeah, I mean, I've never expected myself to be doing this, honestly, sitting next to you, talking about this, talking about politics. Like, younger Maggie would have never imagined this, but like I think years ago I told myself I want to be the voice I never had for my own reasons, and then it just led me to where it is today. So like you said, trust the process. With that, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Share it with your friends if you feel like they could benefit from this, if they are very skeptical about why they should vote in this upcoming state election if they are involved. I really hope that more people will come up and show up on the 12th of August.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Any last words that maybe something that I didn't manage to ask, but you feel like you wanted to say, or your supporters all these while?
I mean, if there's one message, I hope that everyone in the most hectic of life or problems which confronts them, just make sure you take care of yourself and take care of your mental health. Talk to people around you when you are stressed up. Do not feel that you are alone, because trust me, there are many others who are going through the ordeals, maybe in different gravity, but going through different sets of ordeals. Because while we think about saving the world, we need to make sure that we save ourselves first, so that we are capable of saving the world.
Yep. And with that, like I always say, don't forget to fall head over heels for yourself first and always, and in this case, for your country, Malaysia also. Okay, I'll see you guys next time. Bye. I know what it feels like going to the gym and feel completely clueless and intimidated. I was once there. That's why I started Motion Lab. We're a fitness studio that focuses on small group classes and personal training. Our goal is simple: to help you move better so you can live better. Start your first class for only 49 ringgit today. For more info, go to www.motionlab.live or check us out on IG at motionlabmy. It's motionlabmy.